2, Plan Advisory Commission meeting to order. Official start of this meeting is 9 a.m. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Wrong date. Please silence or turn off your cell phones. Thank you. I remind those in the audience and those watching on TV that this is the first hearing of any rezoning, text change, or special exception request brought before us today. We will first hear a reading of the staff report for the case by planning staff and ask the applicant to provide a brief overview of the request. We will then give the opportunity for anyone in the audience to speak for or against that request or to inquire about said request. The commissioners will have any needed discussion on the case. Once a motion is made and seconded by the commission, a vote will take place and a recommendation will be rendered. The case will go back to the planning department for their independent recommendation. If a favorable recommendation is given, then the case is forwarded to the city council with 2 independent recommendations. If the planning department makes a recommendation for denial, the applicant will have 10 days from the receipt of the letter stating the denial to notify the clerk of council that they are requesting to be placed on the city council's agenda. The City Council of Columbus will hold a public meeting called the first reading. Said council shall consider the case, review the Planning Advisory Commission and Planning Department recommendations, and hear discussions on the matter. Council will make a final decision at a second public meeting called the second reading. All right, that brings us to our first case today, which is REZN 03-22-0503, a request to rezone 3.30 acres of land located at 3679 Steam Mill Road. Current zoning is SFR4. Proposed zoning is GC. The proposed use is a medical office. Mercy Med of Columbus Incorporated is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 1 Barnes. Could we please hear from staff?
Yes, sir. The general land use is inconsistent for Plan and Area E. The current land use designation is public institutional. The future land use is neighborhood commercial. It is compatible with the existing land uses. The property does not lie within the floodway and floodplain area. The developer will need an approved drainage plan prior to issuance of a site development permit if a permit is required. Property is served by all city services. Average annual daily trips will increase to 770 trips, up from 229 trips if used for commercial use. The level of service will remain at a level C. The site shall meet the codes and regulations of CCG for commercial usage. There'll be no school impact. The site shall include a Category C buffer along all property lines bordered by the SFR2 zoning district. The 3 options on a Category C are 20 feet with a certain amount of canopy trees, understory trees, shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, 10 feet with a certain amount of shrubs, ornamental grasses per 100 linear feet, and a wood fence or masonry wall, 30 feet undisturbed natural buffer. There's no Fort Bend recommendation, no DRI recommendation. The surrounding zoning to the north is NC, to the south is SFR2, to the east is SFR2, to the west is SFR3. 85 property owners within 300 feet of the subject property were notified of the rezoning request. The planning department received 1 call regarding the rezoning. It wasn't an approval or opposition. It was just an inquiry. Additional information, currently there's an ordinance 194-01 special exception to approve the use of a daycare at this parcel. If this is rezoned to general commercial, that will no longer be needed. Daycare is permitted in GC, but this case came about. This is basically bringing the Mercy Med into conformance, is why this case is being brought to us today.
Okay. Is there any questions from commissioners in regard to the staff report? Yes, Mr. Dudley.
Just to confirm, all the other uses in that building would also be acceptable under general commercial?
The church is less than 250 seats in the building, so that would be, the daycare falls under general commercial, like I said, and it would be as well, and then the medical office would as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, would the applicant please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and give us a brief overview of your request?
Good morning. My name's Austin Gibson. I'm a lawyer at Page Scranum. My address is 1111 Bay Avenue, 3rd floor. I'm here this morning with a rezoning on behalf of Mercy Med of Columbus, who is the applicant, and they actually leased this church building from the Columbus Baptist Association, who actually owns the property. And just very briefly, you all may be familiar with Mercy Med and what they do in our community. They have a primary office out on 2nd Avenue, and then they've also in 2014 opened this facility on Steam Mill Road. And of course, their mission is to provide medical and other services to underprivileged people in our community. And I think that they do a pretty good job of that, so you all may be very familiar with what they do. So as the planning department mentioned, this property is at the corner of Buena Vista Road and Steam Mill Road. And just to give you a little bit of history of the property, back in, the church was built, the church building that's still on the premises was built in the 1950s, and it's operated as a church ever since. But in 2003, the property was transferred to the Columbus Baptist Association. And in 2006, while churches were still operating on Sundays, the Columbus Baptist Association opened a medical clinic on premises, and during the week they were serving the surrounding community and providing some medical services while the church services were still going on the weekends. And then in 2014, Mercy Med was asked to come in and take over that clinic, and they began providing those services in 2014. Unfortunately, from that time in 2003 up until today, no one ever checked the zoning or even knew that would be an issue. And so since that time, they've been operating under this SFR 4 in the capacity as a medical clinic, despite being a non-conforming use. So we'd ask your forgiveness for that. We just, the church and Mercy Med just weren't aware, never had any questions about it until recently they put in for a building permit to expand the facility to add a waiting room area. So this, you'll see on this mock-up here that they're just going to add a little bit over to the building in the parking lot area to create an additional waiting space. So the clinic patients will have a bigger area so they can wait. And then that's just proposed elevation. You can see kind of the similar thing there. The hours of operation of the clinic currently are on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. It's open from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, open from 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. As far as factors and concerns with the rezoning, buffering, the project will be buffered. We don't have any intention of disturbing any of the surrounding buffers or natural barriers. And the only difference is just going to be the addition of this building, which encroaches on the parking lot of the facility on the opposite side of the neighboring residential areas. There are no real major concerns, and I guess the positive side of having operated here for approximately 8 years is we know what the traffic impact is, we know what the foot traffic is, we know what noise and other things are generated from this property because unfortunately it's been operating there for 8 years under an incorrect zoning. So there won't be any change to the traffic or the city services serving that building because the use is going to be the same use that's been going on since 2003. As far as economic impact, there will be a minimal amount of job creation in the construction of this and during this remodeling, and then of course, as the facility hopefully grows and begins to serve more, more patients and more folks in that area, there may be additional jobs that are added on to meet those needs. And then of course, you have beyond the economic impact, you have the neighborhood impact of having this clinic that provides low cost or free medical services to people in that community. So there's beyond the economic impact. There's also just a great just general impact on the neighborhood in that these medical services that sometimes can be difficult to find are going to be right around the corner there. So finally, although the property is listed for future land use as neighborhood commercial, you'll see going down Buena Vista Road to the southwest there, all those properties are listed as future land use for neighborhood commercial, but you'll see on our zoning map here that all those properties except for the subject property are already general commercial. So this wouldn't be a spot zoning issue. The property's immediately to the southwest are already zoned GC along that line. And of course, we all know that Buena Vista Road is, you know, a large commercial road, and then and Steam Mill Road also has some commercial aspects as well. So I say all that to say I've got representatives from Mercy Med and the Columbus Baptist Association here today. Together, we'd be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Is there any questions from commissioners? All right. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak for this request? Please come forward. Is there anyone in this audience that would like to speak against this request? Please come forward. Yes, sir. Please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Robert Gary, and I stay on 555 Fair Oaks Drive. I just recently moved in about January. Been looking for a house for about 15 years, and I was just wondering, will it affect the surrounding neighborhoods in the future? The area.
That'd be a question for staff.
The letter that you received, the only piece of property that's being rezoned is the area that's in the middle. The circle that goes around that area is the notification area, and we're required by state law essentially to send you that letter to let you know that that piece of property is being rezoned, but your property is not.
Okay, so in the future, nothing will, it won't expand or anything?
It will not,
Okay.
nope.
All right, well, that's all I had.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak again? Yes, ma'am. Please come to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Shirley Ples, and I live right there at 561 Fair Oak Drive, right at the church, back at the church. And I want to know, is it going to affect my home or what it going to do?
Nothing for this rezoning is changing. They're adding to the building.
Just add it to the building?
Yes, ma'am. It's just an addition, a very small addition, really, compared to the size of the existing building that's there. But all the buffers, all the parking lots, everything on that property is pretty much remaining the same.
Remain the same?
Yes, ma'am.
All right then. All right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Is there anyone else that'd like to speak against this request? Any more questions among commissioners about this rezoning? All right, is there one? Yeah, there's a motion on the floor to approve or disapprove. Yes. Yes, Mr. McCaskey? Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Brown?
I would like to make a motion regarding case REZN 03220503, a request to rezone 3.30 acres of land located at 3679 Steam Mill Road. Current zoning is single-family residential 4. Proposed zoning is general commercial. The proposed use is a medical office. Mercy Med of Columbus Incorporated is the applicant. This property is located in Council District 1. I move that we approve this request because it is in operation now, and I think we should keep it that way.
Yes, ma'am. We have a second? Yes, Ms. Brown. All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you. Is there any other business amongst the commissioners? I would like to make a motion to adjourn. Thank you. All right, thank you.